You never forget the sound of your own skull cracking against the pavement. My sister's boyfriend pushed me screaming that I ruined their internet fame. I died completely alone, but opening my eyes to the exact day it all started. This time I'm letting her destroy her own life. Staring at the hideous floral pattern of my mother's living room rug, I sucked in a sharp, ragged breath. My lungs felt full of air, not the coppery taste of my own demise. I blinked my vision, adjusting to the warm afternoon light streaming through the bay windows. I was sitting on the beige sectional. Across from me stood my younger sister Savannah and her 19-year-old boyfriend, Tyler Prescott. Savannah was holding up a white plastic wand with 2 glaring pink lines. She wore a smug, radiant smile, completely oblivious to the absolute wreckage she was holding in her manicured hands. "We're keeping it," Savannah announced, her voice dripping with the unearned confidence of a 17-year-old girl who had never paid a utility bill in her life. "And honestly, I'm dropping out of senior year. Tyler and I have a plan. We're starting a YouTube family vlog, the Prescott Fam. It's going to be huge. People make millions doing this." A wave of vertigo washed over me. I knew this day. I had lived this exact moment before. In my first life, my reaction had been immediate and explosive. I had jumped off this very couch, screaming at her that she was ruining her future. I pointed out that Tyler was a part-time vape shop cashier who couldn't even keep a car running, let alone raise a child. I begged our parents, Susan and David, to intervene, to force her to stay in school, to cut off her allowance, so she'd face reality. My intervention had been the catalyst for my own destruction. Savannah and Tyler had run away, playing the ultimate victims. They started their channel anyway, and their very first viral video was titled, "Kicked Out by My Toxic Jealous Sister at 17, Pregnant and Homeless." The internet devoured it. Millions of people tuned in to watch Savannah cry crocodile tears in a motel room. They became overnight sensations, making a fortune off of exploiting their unborn baby and dragging my name through the mud. I became the internet's most hated woman. I lost my job, received daily death threats, and sank into severe depression. When their fame inevitably started to dip 2 years later, Tyler's desperation turned volatile. I had gone to their massive rented mansion to try and make amends, to beg them to take the target off my back. Instead, Tyler and I argued at the top of their grand staircase. He shoved me. I tumbled backward. The last thing I heard before my neck snapped was Savannah screaming, "Is the camera rolling?" But I was back. God, the universe, or some twisted twist of fate had ripped me from the cold concrete and dropped me back on this beige couch. "Harper." My mother's nervous voice broke through my thoughts. "Say something. She's your sister." Mom and Dad were looking at me terrified. In the past timeline, they were spineless, waiting for me to be the bad guy. Not this time. I felt a slow, icy smile spread across my face. I stood up, smoothing down my jeans, and walked over to Savannah. I didn't scream. I didn't grab her shoulders. I gently placed my hands over hers, looking down at the pregnancy test. "Savannah," I said, my voice softer and sweeter than honey. "I think that is a brilliant idea." Tyler, who had been bracing for a fight, visibly relaxed, puffing out his chest. Savannah blinked momentarily, thrown off script. You do." "Absolutely," I lied, looking her dead in the eyes. "School is just a factory anyway. It holds creative people back. You have such a magnetic personality, Sav. And Tyler, you guys are gorgeous together. The camera is going to love you. Why waste time reading textbooks when you could be building an empire?" My dad cleared his throat, looking bewildered. "Harper, she hasn't even finished her AP exams. How are they going to afford rent?" I spun around to face my parents. Dad, don't be a boomer. Family vloggers make tens of thousands of dollars a month just from ad revenue and sponsorships. Savannah has a gift. If she stays in school, she'll be stressed out, and that's bad for the baby. You guys should support her. In fact, you should let them live in the basement rent-free while they get the channel off the ground. Savannah's eyes lit up like sparklers. Yes, exactly. Harper gets it. Oh my God. Harper, thank you. She threw her arms around me, pulling me into a hug that smelled heavily of cheap vanilla body spray. I hugged her back, my eyes wide open, staring at Tyler over her shoulder. Tyler smirked at me, nodding. Yeah, thanks, Harper. Good to know someone in this house respects the grind. Oh, I respect it, I murmured, pulling away from Savannah. I can't wait to watch you guys get everything you deserve. That night, instead of crying myself to sleep in frustration, I slept like a baby. The trap was set. All I had to do was hand them the shovel and watch them dig. Within a week, Savannah had formally withdrawn from high school. Mom cried in the kitchen, but Dad was too conflict-avoidant to put his foot down, especially with me, constantly whispering in their ears about how times are changing and college is a scam anyway. Tyler quit his job at the vape shop, declaring that he needed to be a full-time producer. The reality was that he spent his days playing Call of Duty while Savannah sat in the basement, talking to a camera Tyler had bought on a high-interest credit card. Their first few videos were agonizingly bad. Savannah doing her makeup while talking about her morning sickness. Tyler vlogging his trips to the gas station to buy her slushies. They were getting maybe 200 views a video, mostly from pitying classmates and confused relatives. The algorithm is rigged, Tyler complained one evening, throwing his phone onto the kitchen island. He was eating the groceries my parents paid for. YouTube suppresses new creators. We need a hook. Maybe you guys need some drama, I suggested, innocently pouring myself a cup of coffee. I was currently in my sophomore year of college, majoring in finance, keeping my head down, and my GPA at a pristine 4.0. People love conflict. What if you did a prank or a really emotional breakdown? Tyler's eyes narrowed, the gears slowly turning in his hollow head. A prank? Yeah. Like what if I pretended to lose the baby's ultrasound pictures? Savannah gasped. Tyler, that's mean. I'll actually cry. Exactly, babe, real emotion. It's raw. It's authentic, Tyler urged, grabbing his camera. They filmed it that afternoon. I sat on the stairs out of frame, watching Tyler relentlessly berate an emotionally fragile, hormone-fueled teenager until she was hyperventilating, sobbing uncontrollably on the basement floor. Tyler kept the camera shoved right in her face, capturing every ugly tear, every tremor of her lip. When he finally told her it was a joke, she slapped him, stormed out, and locked herself in the bathroom. Tyler uploaded it, unedited, titled, "He Lost Our Baby's Pictures. Emotional Breakdown. Almost Broke Up." It went viral. Within 48 hours, the video hit 3 million views. The comments were a mess of people attacking Tyler, defending Savannah, and debating the ethics of the prank. But Tyler didn't care about the hate. He only cared about the analytics dashboard. Look at this, Tyler gloated, shoving his laptop in my face a few days later. $5,000, Harper. We made $5,000 off one video. Tell your dad to stop asking me when I'm getting a real job. Savannah emerged from the basement, her ego massively inflated. She had used the first payout to get eyelash extensions and buy designer baby clothes she didn't need. We gained 50,000 subscribers, she said, flipping her hair. A brand reached out to us. Some diaper company wants to send us free stuff. Harper, can you do my laundry? I'm too busy editing. Of course, I said cheerfully, taking her laundry basket. Let her feel like a queen. Queens are the most fun to dethrone. As the months rolled by, Savannah's pregnancy progressed, and their channel, The Prescott fam ballooned to over 800,000 subscribers, but the illusion of their wealth was just that, an illusion. They were making good money, but they were hemorrhaging it faster. Tyler leased a matte black Range Rover. Savannah bought Gucci diaper bags and $1,000 strollers. Behind closed doors, they were miserable. Tyler was a tyrant, forcing Savannah to film constantly. If she was tired, he yelled. If she didn't look cute enough, while crying, he made her do another take. I watched my sister slowly turn into a hollow, anxious shell of a person, her entire self-worth dictated by the comment section. One afternoon, I came home from my internship to find a stranger sitting in our living room. He was in his late 20s, wearing a tailored suit that didn't quite hide his predatory smirk. "Harper, this is Kyler Montgomery," Savannah said excitedly. Her belly was huge now, resting heavily in her lap. "He's a talent manager from Apex Digital. He flew out from LA just to meet us." "A pleasure," Kyler said, flashing teeth that were far too white. "Your sister and Tyler are sitting on a gold mine. We want to bring them onto our roster. Secure them brand deals, merch lines, maybe even a reality show." Tyler was practically vibrating with excitement. "He's got a contract for us. It's huge." "A contract?" I asked, walking over. "Mind if I take a look? I am a finance major, after all." Kyler hesitated, his smile tightening. "It's standard industry boilerplate." I picked up the thick stack of papers from the coffee table and skimmed through it. It took me less than 3 minutes to find the traps. It was the most predatory contract I had ever seen in my life. Apex Digital would take a massive 40% cut of all gross revenue. Furthermore, the agency would retain the rights to the name, the Prescott fam, and all associated merchandise in perpetuity. There was a clause that required them to post 3 videos a week or face severe financial penalties. And the kicker, a 10-year exclusivity lock-in with a $2 million buyout. If they signed this, they were selling their souls and their unborn child's future to a man who looked like he'd sell his own mother for a Rolex. In my past life, I would have ripped the contract to shreds. I would have hired a lawyer. I would have protected my sister from making a catastrophic legal mistake. "Well," Savannah asked, looking at me nervously. "Tyler thinks we should just sign it, so we can get the signing bonus." I looked from the contract to Savannah's hopeful, naive face, and then to Tyler's greedy eyes. I placed the papers neatly back on the table and handed Savannah the silver pen Kyler had provided. "It looks incredibly standard." I smiled, projecting nothing but sisterly pride. "Actually, it's amazing. I don't think you'll ever get an offer this good again. You're playing in the big leagues now, Sav. You deserve this." Savannah beamed, her chest puffing out. She grabbed the pen. "See, Tyler, I told you Harper would know." She signed her name. Then Tyler scribbled his. Kyler Montgomery snatched the papers back with the speed of a striking viper, his smile reaching his cold eyes. "Welcome to the Apex family." As they celebrated in the living room, talking about moving out to a mansion in Calabasas, I walked upstairs to my quiet, clean bedroom. I closed the door and let out a long, quiet breath. The ink was dry. The timer had officially started. They thought they had just bought their ticket to the top. I knew they had just signed their own death warrant. 6 months later, baby Jackson was brought into the world under the blinding glare of a ring light. Savannah's labor lasted 22 agonizing hours, but Tyler refused to let her rest. He shoved the camera in her sweaty, exhausted face between contractions, prompting her to repeat sponsored talking points for a maternal vitamin company Kyler Montgomery had secured. The resulting video, raw emotional teen birth vlog, he almost didn't make it, generated 8 million views in a week. They thought they had struck gold, but the reality of their Apex Digital contract was about to hit them like a freight train. Shortly after Jackson's birth, they moved out of my parents' basement and into a massive, sterile McMansion in Calabasas. It was a 6-bedroom architectural nightmare made of glass white marble and echoing hallways. They leased it for $15,000 a month. Tyler traded in his matte black Range Rover for an unnecessarily loud Lamborghini Urus. I visited them during my winter break, ostensibly to drop off Christmas presents, but mostly to observe the wreckage. Walking through the heavy oak double doors, the first thing I noticed wasn't the luxury, it was the absolute squalor. Stacks of unboxed PR packages formed miniature mountains in the foyer. The marble floors were sticky with spilled energy drinks. Savannah sat on a stark white modular sofa, dark circles bruising the skin under her eyes, rocking a crying Jackson while trying to edit a video on her laptop. "Hey, Sov," I said cheerfully, dropping a neatly wrapped gift on the glass coffee table. She looked up, her eyes vacant. "Oh. Hey, Harper. Sorry the maid quit yesterday. Tyler yelled at her for walking through the background of a shot." "No worries," I smiled, sitting beside her. "You guys are just so busy building your empire. How's the new house?" Before she could answer, Tyler stomped down the sweeping glass staircase, a tripod slung over his shoulder. He looked manic. "Savannah, I told you to have the thumbnail ready by noon. The algorithm penalizes late uploads. We're dropping engagement." "I'm trying," Savannah whimpered, bouncing the wailing infant. "Jackson has a fever, Tyler. He was up all night and my editing software kept crashing. Give him Tylenol and put him in the swing." Tyler snapped, ignoring the baby entirely. "Kyler is breathing down my neck. We owe Apex 3 videos this week, and the brand integration for that stupid meal prep company is due tomorrow." "Did you cook the chicken?" "I didn't have time to buy groceries." Tyler swore violently, kicking a cardboard box across the living room. "You literally do nothing all day, but sit here. Get it done." He stormed into his gaming studio and slammed the door. I watched the exchange with mild, calculated detachment. "Wow," I murmured. "He is so dedicated to your family's brand. It's inspiring, really. It takes a tough manager to keep a business running." Savannah blinked back tears, looking down at her screaming son. "We're completely broke, Harper." I feigned shock, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Broke, Sav, you have 2 million subscribers. You're famous." "It's the contract," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Kyler takes 40% of everything before taxes. Then the IRS takes another massive chunk. After paying the lease on this house, Tyler's car, the camera equipment, and the penalty fees whenever we miss an upload deadline, we have nothing left. Tyler maxed out 3 credit cards last month just to keep up appearances for the vlogs. That's just the cost of doing business," I assured her, my voice soothing. "Every major CEO goes into debt before they make their billions. You guys just need one massive viral hit to catch up. Maybe something dramatic. The fans love it when you guys overcome adversity." Savannah wiped her nose, a spark of desperate recognition in her eyes. "Adversity? Yeah, just keep pushing." I smiled, standing up. "You're living the dream, Sov. Don't let a little financial stress ruin it." I left the Calabasas house, feeling utterly serene. The poison was working perfectly. Their extravagant lifestyle was a house of cards sitting in a wind tunnel, and instead of shielding it, I had just handed them a fan. The breaking point arrived 3 months later, right around Jackson's 1st birthday. Desperate to pay their mounting tax debt and avoid Kyler's aggressive breach of contract threats, Tyler decided they needed a massive influx of cash. They needed a scandal. But since they had already exhausted prank breakups, fake pregnancies, and crying videos, Tyler decided to cross a line that you simply do not cross. I was sitting in my college dorm drinking matcha and reviewing a corporate finance case study when my phone started vibrating with frantic notifications. My Twitter feed was exploding. The Prescott fam was trending at #1, right alongside the hashtag #ArrestTylerPrescott. I opened YouTube and found their latest upload published only an hour ago. The title was in glaring red text. "We thought we lost him. Rushed to the ER. Pray for Jackson." The thumbnail featured Savannah sobbing hysterically in a hospital waiting room, holding a tiny hospital gown. I clicked play. The video showed Tyler frantically driving the Lamborghini, blowing through red lights, screaming that Jackson wasn't breathing. Savannah was crying in the passenger seat, pointing the camera at her own terrified face. But the internet is undefeated. Within 45 minutes of the upload, internet sleuths had torn the video apart. A reflection in Tyler's mirrored sunglasses showed that the car's speedometer read a perfectly legal 35 miles per hour. Furthermore, a nurse who worked at the hospital they used as their thumbnail background leaked a security camera still. It showed Tyler and Savannah standing outside the ER entrance, casually drinking iced coffees and laughing while Tyler directed Savannah on how to cry for the thumbnail picture. Jackson wasn't even with them. He had been left with a teenage babysitter. They had faked a life-threatening medical emergency for their infant son to get clicks. The backlash was biblical. Cancel culture didn't just knock on their door, it kicked it down and set the house on fire. By the next morning, every single sponsor had dropped them. The diaper company issued a public statement condemning their actions. Apex Digital, seeing the radioactive PR disaster, invoked the morality clause in their contract. Kyler Montgomery locked Savannah and Tyler out of their own YouTube channel, seized their remaining ad revenue to cover the damages to the agency's reputation, and formally demanded the $2 million buyout fee to sever the contract. I drove out to Calabasas that afternoon. I wanted front-row seats to the finale. When I arrived, the front door was wide open. The house looked like it had been ransacked. Tyler was frantically stuffing designer clothes into garbage bags in the foyer. Savannah was curled in a fetal position on the stairs, sobbing so hard she was choking while Jackson wailed in his playpen unattended. "What's going on?" I asked, stepping over a discarded ring light. Tyler whipped around, his eyes bloodshot and wild. "We're ruined. Apex locked the accounts. They're suing us." "Harper, we have to flee the state. I swear to God, I'm not going to jail for wire fraud." "Jill," I asked, keeping my tone perfectly neutral. "The GoFundMe," Savannah choked out from the stairs, her face pale and streaked with mascara. Tyler set up a GoFundMe in the description of the ER video to help with Jackson's medical bills. People donated $50,000 before the platform froze it. The police called Tyler an hour ago. My blood ran cold, but a fierce, triumphant heat flared in my chest. Wire fraud, falsifying a medical emergency for financial gain. They hadn't just ruined their reputation, they had committed a federal crime. "Harper, you're studying finance!" Tyler demanded, marching toward me. The desperation in his eyes was identical to the look he had in my first life, right before he shoved me to my death. The energy in the room shifted, growing dark and volatile. "You have to help us hide the money. Transfer it to an offshore account, crypto, whatever. Just do it." I looked at him. Really looked at him. A 19-year-old boy playing a dangerous man's game completely out of his depth. "No." I said the word, dropping into the chaotic room like a stone into a still pond. Tyler stopped, his jaw dropping. "What do you mean, no? She's your sister. And you are a criminal," I replied calmly. "I'm not risking a felony conviction and my future career to cover up your stupidity. You encouraged this," Tyler screamed, his face turning an ugly shade of purple. He took a menacing step toward me, his hands balling into fists. "You told us to push it. You said we needed drama. This is your fault, you jealous, manipulative." He lunged at me. In my first life, I was standing at the top of the stairs, caught off guard, desperate to make peace. In this life, I was standing in the center of the foyer, completely grounded and entirely prepared. As Tyler grabbed my shoulders, I didn't fight back. I simply let myself collapse backward, letting out a sharp, calculated scream. I hit the marble floor hard, but I kept my head tucked, avoiding the skull-cracking impact of my past. "Harper," Savannah screamed. Right on cue, the flashing red and blue lights of 3 police cruisers illuminated the massive glass windows of the McMansion. I had called them from my car before walking in, reporting a domestic disturbance and potential violence. The police breached the open front door seconds later. They found Tyler standing over me, fists clenched, looking like a monster. They tackled him to the marble floor, handcuffing him as he screamed obscenities. Blaming me, blaming Kyla, blaming the internet. I sat up slowly, playing the role of the terrified, supportive sister perfectly. I let a female officer help me to my feet. I just came to check on them, I stammered, shedding a single flawless tear. He's been so unstable lately. Savannah watched Tyler get dragged out the front door, her entire world shattering into millions of irreparable pieces. She looked at me, her eyes wide, with a horrific realization. She finally understood that the empire she thought she was building was actually a cage, and I had simply handed her the padlock. 3 months later, Tyler was convicted of wire fraud and sentenced to 18 months in federal prison. Because of the contract Savannah signed, she was held jointly liable for the $2 million buyout to Apex Digital. She declared bankruptcy at 18 years old. She moved back into our parents' basement. There were no cameras, no designer bags, no ad revenue. Just a crying baby, a mountain of legal debt, and the deafening silence of millions of people who had completely forgotten she existed. I graduated top of my class, secured a high-paying job at a prestigious investment firm, and moved into a gorgeous penthouse downtown. I still visit my parents on holidays. I smile at Savannah, I buy Jackson sensible educational toys, and I sip my wine while she complains about her minimum wage job at the grocery store. Sometimes she looks at me, a flicker of suspicion in her tired eyes, wondering how it all went so wrong. But she never asks, and I never tell. I just smile, grateful for the second chance the universe gave me. Because sometimes best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's simply giving them exactly what they ask for and letting them destroy themselves. If you found yourself holding your breath through this twisted tale of internet fame, greed, and ultimate karma, you are not alone. The digital world can be a dangerous illusion, and this story proves that sometimes the quietest revenge is the most devastating. If you loved this dramatic Reborn narrative, hit that like button, share it with your friends who love a good plot twist, and don't forget to subscribe for more intense, real-life inspired storytelling. See you in the next one.